Gaming could be changing for the better. I know a lot of the news around gaming lately has been kind of negative, and oh, it's at the end of the world. We're going to have $100 games soon and everything else. But some of these publishers are pushing back against that narrative.
It's working!
It's working, all right. That's right. The gaming industry is working to finally help us out once again. Free-to-share games just got serious. If you don't know what these are, basically one person buys a game and is able to share that game with their friends so they can play it together. It's the same concept, basically, that we had back in the days when everything was sold via disc or cartridge in Nintendo 64, where you could actually share the games you purchased. Let's see what's happening.
Okay, today we got to talk about a business model that very few people really think about, that's not done that often, that could actually solve one of the big problems in this industry, and we've got real working examples, including a game that just came out. And the problem is this: how the hell do you compete with free? The entire industry is trying to grapple with this problem, and there's a stat that highlights why. That's kind of creepy. Across all platforms, 50% of player time goes into the same set of games.
Same set of games. So what are those games? Let's see. On PC, we got Helldivers 2. Helldivers still that popular? I thought like Helldivers kind of fell off. But okay, so Helldivers, Call of Duty, Marvel Rivals. Yeah, that makes sense. Path of Exile, and Once Human. Okay. Man, Helldivers still got 1.3% of the PC player base playing it. That's crazy. And then you got console. Okay, you got all these regular chads out here playing their sports games and shit, of course, and Call of Duty. Yeah, and then what's this? Xbox, same thing. Yeah, Call of Duty and sports games. Makes sense.
Games are either free to play or they're COD-style incumbents that you just can't unseat.
Oh my God, look how many people play COD still. What the hell? Out of the 67.1%. Oh, Counter-Strike. Yeah, big one too, of course. Yeah.
Incumbents that you just
Makes
can't
sense.
unseat. And that's a problem. It's hard for new stuff to actually get cut through. And today's story then is something we rarely see. It's a business model called free to share. It's also the first game out from Dreamhaven. Dreamhaven, of course, is a company set up by Blizzard Entertainment co-founder Mike Morhaime.
Yeah, Dreamhaven, if you don't know, is the company that Mike Morhaime, when he left Blizzard, he went and founded a new gaming company, and he actually brought a lot of the ex-Blizzard guys, like the OGs from World of Warcraft, the original founders of Blizzard, over there. I'm actually surprised he never got Chris Metzen. Now, maybe Metzen just has such a love affiliation with WoW and the world he's built there that he didn't want to leave and go work over there. But yeah, Dreamhaven finally dropped their first game. It's this one. Really, it's like a... they describe it as like a kind of board game in a game, right? Like it's a game night kind of game. So this is a cool one. I didn't know this was free to share though.
And luckily for them, Sunderfolk has released in the wake of what's almost certainly the best performing free to share game of all time. It's called Split Fiction. It's one of 2025's best selling games, and you cannot play the game solo. You literally can't. Yet it sold 2 million copies in a week. Not 2 million players, 2 million copies. That's sales, and as of right now, Circana is tracking it as the 10th best-selling game of the year in the US.
So what are the best-selling games? Monsters, Wild, Assassin's Creed, Kingdom Come, Deliverance. Yeah, that's a popular one right now. MLB The Show, WWE 2K. I didn't know WWE games were that popular. 6th? Call of Duty, Black Ops, Civilization, NBA 2K, PGA, Split Fiction. Man, Grand Theft Auto 5. What the hell? Why would they just delayed Grand Theft Auto 6 again? And why would they even come out with it? This game's still freaking top 10 in GameSpeak sold. This game came out so long ago and it's still top 10. And then, of course, the classic, Minecraft.
Even though perhaps some conventional wisdom maybe would say, you sold a lot of copies. Surely you could have sold more if you didn't, well, have most of the people who ended up playing the game not pay any money for it. And that's because Split Fiction has got a friend pass. It's quite fascinating. It works like this. You buy the game, right? So you pay a premium price for a premium co-op game. And then because of the friend pass, you can play that game with whoever the hell you want because it's free to share. And Hazelight even convinced Electronic Arts to make the sharing actually be cross-platform. And so with this game, it's clearly working. I think
cross-platform game sharing? That's pretty crazy. So you could buy the game on Xbox and play with your friend via share on PlayStation or PC? That's pretty crazy.
Companies are going to start
This is really good for gamers.
And that's what brings us to the first internally developed Dreamhaven game that's released. This is Sunderfolk, and there are very few games like it. Honestly, breath of fresh air. The entire marketing pitch, right, is that you can, quote, rediscover game night. So basically, it's a game
this is
made
the new
by people who
Dreamhaven
like
game.
pen and paper RPGs and that kind of thing, but, you know, they kind of want a video game version of that that recaptures the same energy. And in terms of gameplay, this is reducing things, but you could think of it as being a bit like Baldur's Gate 3 co-op, but where only one person needs to own the game. So most of the people who play this game will not have paid money for it unless
That's really
they
cool.
spotted a few quid to their friend. Now, this is a game that we had our eyes on here because it's
So you want to hang out with your friends and one of them bought this game. You guys can go 4 players in with only one person of ever purchasing the game. That's awesome. I think it's such a good strategy. Plus, like, not only that, this is like he said, like, these are games that don't have an already captured market. Like Call of Duty doesn't have to do this because every fuckboy out there is going to buy Call of Duty so they can play with their buddies. But a game like this, where it's a new game, maybe someone hasn't heard of it, maybe someone doesn't even know it exists. Somebody buys the game, shares it with 4 friends. They're all playing together. They have a great time. And then maybe that friend, you know, he's not coming over today. One of the 4 who played it that day is like, man, I really enjoyed that game. They go out and buy it. It does increase your customer base for sure. It's a way to introduce the game to other people.
many studios that were formed by
I guess it's almost like a Blockbuster. It's almost like renting a game back in the day when you would go to Blockbuster, rent a game, and then you actually like the game so much you want to keep it. Well, most people just didn't even return the fucking thing, and then you got $1.6 million in late fees down the line. But anyways, it's kind of that concept where it's almost like a rental. People get to try it out, and then they can go buy it if they want to.
Blizzard Entertainment staff, and in this case, it's Moreheim's Dreamhaven being the publisher and their own studio Secret Door being the developer, and much like Split Fiction, it's a premium game. And I don't know about you, but whenever I first saw it, I got sticker shock. I thought, what the hell? How are you charging that much money? And then free to share clicked. So
$50, I mean, that's not bad. And now, yeah, like he said, when you hear it's free to share, okay, $50, you and your buddies are hanging out the entire night, and you guys are, nerds just like the rest of us out there. And somebody thinks, hey, man, $50 right now, we can all play this Sunderfolk game together, like all 4 of us. It's not a bad deal.
Then free to share.
Or just have your buddies Venmo you the money, and then you guys split the cost.
It's you and a whole group of friends building characters and running a campaign, but where only one person needs to own the
Step 1, get friends. True.
video game. The thing is,
not an average WoW player's
to
thing.
own something, and can kind of resurrect an old legendary quote. Don't you guys already have phones? Yes. It's so perfectly memeable, but it is actually the case that each player will actually play this game using the Sunderfolk controller app. Now, the good news is that app is free. And the reason why is this actually works just like Jackbox, but for RPGs. And to be honest, if you ask me, they've absolutely cooked with this. Now, there's a large part of me that says,
this is really cool. So everyone plays this game on their TV. You put it up on the TV, your 4 buddies in your room, and each of you are controlling it with your phones. What a cool concept. This is really is game night coming back. This actually sounds like a good time. I'm not going to lie.
Damn it, just let me use a controller. But actually taking a look at it, you can see that they're doing cool things with the idea of every player having their own private UI, and then the actual game table on your big screen, well, not having all the stuff it would need to have if everyone had a gamepad attached. So honestly, pretty cool. Now, Look, I can see that being a tough sell, but if you look at the Steam reviews, they are 94%, and of all of them, I think this one captures the sentiment perfectly. Quote, I paid for a game that I can play with my partner, my friends that I play board games with, without them having to pay anything. That just feels
It's a great
good.
feature.
A bit like you having, a copy of Catan that you can bring and play with your friends. You think about that with video games. The idea of you bringing your video game disc and maybe bringing it to your friend's house, or heaven forbid, lending it to your friend. That is a level of unmonetized gameplay that our industry usually absolutely loses its shit over. But here, they're embracing that as a way to grow their game.
It used to be such a normal thing, though. Like, you'd go to your friend's house, you'd take your Mario Kart cartridge over to his house, he doesn't have Mario Kart, and then everybody there plays Mario Kart that day. That was such a normal thing, and then, digital stuff came out, and it became like a big deal to do that. So this is not really like something new. This is like a return to form, actually, for the industry.
I think it's goddamn smart. But more than that, it's important. It's not generically important, it's important because of the market today. Free-to-share has
Bella, what
existed
the
for a
fuck?
while. Other games have done this in smaller ways, right? And one of the ways these companies end up competing is
Halo
basically
split screen,
a
yep.
race to the bottom for free-to-play or cramming more stuff into their games, whereas here there's a competitive edge that actually opens up an entire new avenue of game design. That's right.
Oh, Achilles, you were live? What the hell? Achilles bringing in the 3 more into our Scourge. Thank you so much, Achilles. I appreciate that. And I was actually just about to pause and say, I totally remember playing Halo. Somebody was just mentioning that in chat. Playing Halo, me and my cousin went out and we bought Halo, I think it was Halo 3, the day it came out, right? And I bought it. He didn't buy it. We went back to my parents' house. We put it in my Xbox and we played the campaign all the way through. Co-op campaign, split screen. We played the entire thing. And then, of course, we wanted to play online later on. My cousin went out and bought the game later, and we played online the rest of the day. You know, just it was a good time. But that was basically, you know, his whole thing was like, is Halo 3 any good? Let's buy it. Let's play it together. Oh, it's great. I'm going to go buy it too. It does generate more customers, for sure. Friend sharing generates more customers. And that's why that split game or whatever is like a fucking 2 million sales now. It's crazy.
Wow, I love this. Like that Steam review said, this is effectively like buying a board game or a tabletop rulebook and then sharing it with your gaming group. But it's taking the lead from a long-running series to make it actually work in the context of video games. And that series is Jackbox. And there's a reason why half the Steam reviews explicitly call it Jackbox Cross Gloomhaven, in that it's a party game paired with a board game, which is real cool. And if you ask me, it fixes one of gaming's largest problems, a problem that has led to more and more studios going into that awful race to the bottom. It's simply that game economics are not working for players, for game design itself, or many, many game developers, and that is felt the most keenly in indie multiplayer titles. That problem, right, where a game never reaches critical mass in terms of players.
Very
because
true.
it never reaches critical mass, it never catches on.
Yeah,
then,
basically the best version of the game or the way the game is intended to be played is with other people. But you never have enough people that own the game to play together. So the best version of the game is never experienced. So how do you solve that? Yeah, this friend sharing thing is totally a great strategy for these smaller indie games.
and means that its value is worth 0. And I say that as a day one purchaser and player of Lawbreakers. Don't I feel smart? And it really is a problem, because when you have the fear that your purchase can literally be worth 0 because it's a multiplayer game that collapsed, you're just not going to want to buy that game. And when I mentally flipped the script on this, it began to feel completely absurd. Imagine a world where, to play Settlers of Catan, you and everyone around the game board, like, brought their own little slice of Catan, and it's only by all of you buying it that you're able to play Catan.
That would suck. He's right. And you know, this is a problem for MMOs, like a big, big problem for any new MMOs that try to come out is player population. There's just never enough people that get into the game and play the game at a consistent rate that to really experience the MMO, because an MMO is a massive multiplayer online game. If you don't have the multiplayer part, it just becomes a massive online world that's completely empty, and that's no fun for anyone. Imagine World of Warcraft had player share, had friend share. Imagine one person purchased the game and they could share it, and it was like a free trial for everyone else until they had to sub or whatever. For however long. You know how many people would fucking play the game? There'd be tons of people playing this game. New players playing the game. Now, the sub in World of Warcraft is special because it's a completely different way to play and pay to play and all that stuff. But there's a lot of free MMOs out there, I think, that would benefit from friend share, right? Instead of making people purchase anything, a lot of MMOs that don't have a sub, allow people to share the game, and there'd be tons of people, new people playing the game for sure. It would have filled Sam's. It would have filled up with more Sam's. Yeah, there are already free trials on WoW. Yes, I know. There are already free trials on WoW. And that's why I said this model doesn't necessarily work great for WoW, because it has a sub. So the sub is always going to be a barrier to entry. Nobody else can pay anyone else's sub unless you're gifting subs to people or whatever. But the main thing is for other MMOs trying to break into the industry. Yeah, a game share, if you have an upfront purchase price, being able to share the MMO with other people would be a great way to bring people in.
Absolutely silly and ridiculous. Yet that is the complete standard and norm for multiplayer games, assuming they're not free-to-plays. And I think that's
Yeah,
a
and I
real
think that was a
problem. It's
great thing
killing
for Final
innovation. It's
Fantasy, the
killing
free-to-play
so many
version of it.
games. And if I'm just to set aside the idea that this would enable whole new types of video game, we're actually seeing it being used in a few other contexts. And this one's real fascinating. It's a PvP game that's called Midnight Murder Club. Now, it's a game from Velen Studios, and they just, man, they're a goddamn case study in this. Their prior game was called Knockout City. It was a dodgeball PvP game that had 12 million total players, but only lasted 2 years because it couldn't retain people in the long term. Does that not?
I downloaded this game when it was really popular. Me and my friends did it one night. We played it on, I think it was PlayStation. Yeah, it was fun for like 2 nights, and then we never played it again.
Joe, that the games industry is basically fucked, right? I mean, does it not show that? How can you have 12 million players and, well, because that cannot be people's main game that they play forever, like a Fortnite or a Call of Duty.
Eventually you get sick of it.
Sorry, it just can't be viable in the market. That's the thing. Whenever everybody goes free to play, there's a certain level of scale that you need to keep that going. And with Knockout City, apparently 12 million total players was not enough scale. And what that means for you and me is quite simply less games, less options, less creativity. Now, what's interesting is their new game, Midnight Murder Club. It's trying to solve that problem, and it's trying to solve it by using guest passes. The way it works is that up to 5 people can play the game, earn progression, and all that stuff without buying a copy. Now, there is still a price-based barrier to entry, but the principle here is that those premium costs mean that these indie games don't have to go the way of a free-to-play live service in order to survive. This means, right? This is insane, but this means you can have a game that's fun, that's designed for multiple people, but that does not require, say, I don't know, 40,000 concurrents all the time.
Right.
In a world where business...
Or better yet, it doesn't require, if the game's $50 and really it requires 4 people or 8 people to play a match, at $50 a pop, it's not going to require $400 essentially for a match, right? Because that if you have a match 4-on-4 in your PvP game and the game is $50, you would essentially require $400 worth of purchases to be able to run a match. Yeah, so that is a tough barrier to entry for a new game. Is Grand Theft Auto going to go friend share? Hell no. World of Warcraft, is it going to go friend share? No, it's not going to happen. These games are already established titles, and they could charge per person. But yeah, for newer games, newer indie games to get into the industry, this is a great way to do it.
Models allow that to make sense. We, the gaming audience, will have a much better time. And to carry forward the idea of one of your friends owning Catan, and that meaning you can all go and play Catan together, well, how do people play video games these days? It's no longer in siloed party chat stuck within a game, right? It's not that. It's not even on guild chat in whatever MMO you're playing. It's in Discord servers that are centered on cross-game groups.
I was just about to say that. It's in Discord.
The perfect audience to target this business model at. But as much as all of this could be me glazing this new business model, this is all not to say that free-to-share is going to be the new big thing and that it will dominate, because we do have to look at the sobering realities. The big problem that this will face, obviously, is getting the game in front of people and being successful in the long term. I've just described a load of positive network effects and things about the business model that I think are really cool. And I love the idea of the Jackbox model being applied to more games. I think that will open up new types of creativity. I love it. And putting my business hat on, I do love that it still has a strong network effect. You can sell lots of copies because player A will buy a copy, they will play that copy with, say, 3 or 4 of their friends.
Yeah.
And maybe player B plays it for free with player A, then player B wants to play it with their other friends.
Exactly.
Oh dear, now they go and they buy the game. Well, they're predisposed to buy the game because they already enjoyed it. They already enjoyed it with their friends.
Yes.
Now, it's not something we talk about much in games, but you know the way in like sales and marketing, you've got the idea of leads, nurturing leads, and having a warm lead. Well, I think with a game like this, how have you just played Sunderfolk? Oh, you just played it with your friends. That means you're going to have a better time. That probably means you'll be more willing to spend $50 on this compared to another game because, guess what? You played it with your friends, you've all had some good fun. That does make a lot of sense, but in this case, we do have to contend with the price tags. So, Sunderfolk is a $50 game. That's about the cost of a new AA release, and I think it's fair to say that's actually what this game is. It's a full premium game. That makes sense. Now, another full premium game, of course, is Split Fiction. It's a AA that was able to ask that price because it's the follow-up to a universally regarded Game of the Year in the form of It Takes Two. And it's from a studio that's been cultivating die-hard fans all the way since Brothers Tale of Two Sons. So, obviously...
So you have to have 2 people to play this game? It kind of looks cool.
It's in the multiplayer space. You could maybe say it's sort of akin to something like Repo. Now, Repo costs $10, and that can become a problem in comparison. In theory, right, it all averages out. 4 players spending $10 for an early access game versus 1 player buying, well, one $50 game that they can play with basically whoever they want.
The
maths.
maths.
The theoretical is not necessarily practical, and that still takes one person to take the plunge to actually start that whole thing rolling. And it's this comparison that I want you to think about, and do leave your answer in the comments. I will tally them up, and we'll talk about them later. But basically, right? What do you think is better?
Well, I mean, is the model that different, though, from a free-to-play model? Most free-to-play games, you know who they're dependent on? They're dependent on the whales to, give them the money on the back end with skins and everything else. A lot of people who play free-to-play games don't provide enough profit back to the company to really justify the cost of the upfront making of the game, the development of the game. But to make up for those 10 Andys out there who are kind of really playing the game for free and they're not buying the skins and doing everything else, you got the one guy who's spending $200 to $300 on skins, right? So he's not only supplemented those 10 people who are playing it for free, he's gone way beyond that. And that's what this would allow. It's kind of the same thing, right? You got 4 people, 3 of them would not take a plunge and purchase the game, but you got maybe one whale out of those 4 people who is willing to spend the money that those 4 people would spend and a little bit more. Right, instead of charging $10 per game, that would give you $40 if all 4 people had bought the game. You charge one person $50. What have you done now? Well, you got your $40 plus 10. You got a whale who was able to supplement the price of the game. Most free-to-play games suck. Yeah, there's that too. Or just charge $20 for the game instead of $100. Huh? What are you talking about? You charge $20 per person? Yeah, you could do that too. I mean, the prices will vary, but what I'm saying is the concept is still the same. Whales can supplement your game while the other people can basically play it for free.
That you could buy a game for $10, you could play it with your friends, they'd all have to spend $10. Or do you prefer the idea a little bit more like a board game of the $50 game, like Sunderfolk? What would you actually buy? $10 is an impulse purchase. The other thing is, I think with $10, you get a lot of Steam algorithm friendliness. What the hell, $10. I think a lot of people will do that, and they'll put money in. That'll be good for the game algorithmically, good for its visibility. When you look at $50, look, you get sticker shock. And here's the thing, right? My personal experience of Sunderfolk was I was linked to it in Steam. So I went to the link, I saw the price tag, and I basically thought, oh my god, are they insane? That's so much money. What the hell? Of course, I didn't immediately think, oh wait, it's
$50. Am I disconnected? In terms of what people pay for game? I don't think $50 gives me sticker shock. Maybe he's saying that because they're a smaller company right now, but when I see $50 for a game, it doesn't shock me. But I don't know. Maybe I just been paying for WoW expansions so long that I'm disconnected from reality now. Free to share thing is cool. Yeah, it is. 50 is a lot for an indie game, Sam. But are they real? I mean, they're a new dev company, but are they really indie? I mean, it's all these Blizzard developers. It's a full-blown company and publisher. This is not like 2 guys in a garage who made a game. That's I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm disconnected. I don't buy a lot of indie games, so maybe that's why I'm kind of not shocked by the price.
Free to share business model. So this is actually a hell of a good deal, and I can see how it makes sense. So I think that will be something where it'll put people off. Even people who would love free to share, because you only know about free to share once you actually click into the thing. So that does mean that a game like Sunderfolk, I think, will struggle per algorithmic growth. But what it's well set up for is viral.
They should have that on Steam. They should have a thing on Steam where it says, purchase this game, share with up to 4 friends to play together. There should be some kind of indication here that this is free to share, because I do think that would help their purchases a lot.
It does mean that a game like Sunderfolk, I think, will struggle per algorithmic growth. But what it's well set up for is viral word of mouth, which personally is my favorite. But what if I told you that not getting viral success was literally the goddamn point of this video? Take a look at how many Steam reviews Sunderfolk has got. It's got 8. Okay, it's not. It's 250. Now, it probably didn't help Sunderfolk that it was, dropped the same week as 2 of the biggest RPGs of the year, with Oblivion and Expedition 33. So that was a tough place for them to start. I have a feeling a lot of Oblivion players would also be interested in this game. But even with all that said, Sunderfolk was always going to be a niche game. I don't think they were ever planning to, take on World of Warcraft with a Jackbox RPG. Come on,
No.
they were never going to try and do that. The entire point, and the reason why I'm excited about this business model is it allows for niche success, where a product has got evergreen value. Now that could just sound like me spitting out a whole bunch of words, but again, think about my purchase of Lawbreakers. It wasn't worth anything. That went to 0. And at least, hey, the people who bought Concords did get a refund.
Does it show that? It shows that, Krykos, it shows shared/split screen co-op. Okay, well, that's good. That's much better. I'll look it up right now. I actually did not. I should have just freaking looked it up. Store Sunderfolk. Sunderfolk, is it? Yeah, there it was. Okay. Let's see. Does it indicate it anywhere? Game played RPG franchise. Local co-op. Okay, party-based RPG, tactical. Does it indicate that there's sharing involved anywhere? Smartphone, tablet app. Okay, check out Dreamhaven. This game doesn't look like. Where's the? Go down a bit more. Yeah, it should be higher up though. Then, great tabletop game. Play with friends. Okay, DualSense controllers requires agreement. Okay, whatever. There it is. Split screen co-op shared. Okay, yeah, I see it. It's right there. I think this should be higher up though. I mean, I wouldn't have seen this, and I wouldn't have. It should be right next to the purchase price that you could share the game. I think that would help these kinds of games out a lot.
The point, though, in those cases is there was a large critical mass that those games needed to hit to be viable in the market. I would hope that with something like Sunderfolk, the whole point is it's a load of value, it can be financially stable whilst being niche.
Yeah, right next to the purchase price would be a good spot.
Free to play and completely ram it full of cosmetics or any of the other goofy, annoying shit that we've all had way too much of by this stage. I want a world where niche games can be successful and where the unit economics actually say, hey, you only need, 30, 40, 50,000 sales, which, I mean, it's a lot of sales, but still, it's not astronomical. And where a game does not need to post a continually massive concurrent player base. The idea that you could play a game with your mates and then just wait 6 months, play it again. And it always is of value because it's a thing that you own. Just like how you may only play Catan with your friends every 6 months. But that doesn't mean that suddenly Catan is a dead game. And while I'm not sure if it's a success yet, I don't know their margins or anything like that, I do think that free to share is something that could catch on. And I think it's got a real place in today's market. I think it will be better for us as gamers. I think we'll get more interesting, more unique things. But again, for every repo, Valheim, or Lethal Company, there are a dozen games that just don't take off that released at the same time. I think free to share is a model that can try to carve out niches in an industry that currently is all about the biggest success being rewarded with more success and a winner-takes-all attitude. That's just bad for innovation and bad for creativity. And to wrap that up, I've got one line. This line is a certified goddamn banger, and I can say that because I didn't write it. Connor did on our team. Here's the line. These developers have to compete with free, but they don't want to feel cheap. Bravo! That is the best line. That's what I want more of in this industry. Good luck to them.
He's right.
Let me know how you would engage with this. Do you think free to share could be big? Do you think it could catch on?
I do.
Would you use it? I seriously want to know. I don't know. I have an emotional horse in this race. I really want to see disruption and innovation in games. I think free to share could do it. So, yes, let's compete with free, but not by being cheap.
All right. Well, I mean, Bellular is emotionally invested in this even more because he's got his own little development company that they make their own game. But I do think certainly for like smaller companies, indie upstarts and everything else, this is a great way for them to get their game out there, get their player base up to be able to, create essentially an environment where their game is viable, has enough players playing it to be able to do it. And it can create profitability for them too. Like I said, whales purchasing the game for people who typically wouldn't do it. The same concept with skins and free to play. You got whales purchasing 30 skins and then the free to play guy is purchasing 0. But they're supplementing the game for everybody else. So that works. Interesting video and a nice little release there from an ex-Blizzard employee. Or I should say founder in Gamehaven. Nice.